Hello and welcome to today's video. I'm pretty excited to do today's video. We're going to be testing the new Adept Cosmetics Flying Fiddles palette. If you're familiar with Adept Cosmetics, you guys are probably not watching this video to get a sense of the quality of the palette, because typically they're all very good quality. They're all formulated pretty much the same. But this palette is a little bit different. This is their claim to their very first neutral palette. They say on their website, many have asked for years for them to create a neutral palette, and it took years to come to fruition because it takes about a year and a half for a great quality cosmetic product to be made. So I want to first start off with the box. Like, Adept always just does it. A lot of times when I'm ordering from indie brands, they'll come nicely wrapped, but not maybe to like this level of detail. I just kind of wanted to show you guys before we jump into kind of the details of the palette. So this is how it looks. Like, each box is custom to the palette, you know? And they're not all the same size. Like, Adept Cosmetics comes out with a lot of the longer version palettes. This one happens to be a little bit of a different size. The box may not be custom, but the inside is, in terms of like the foam packaging. So you take this little center out and ta-da, there's the palette. I just think it's a really nice touch, especially because I order things constantly and frequently. I'm surprised to see like the packaging that it comes in. And for me, that's quite the experience. Little silly, little unnecessary, maybe. So it does come with this plastic cover right on top. But what I will say about this is that it does have like the information about the palette and the shelf life and that it's cruelty free. And then the shade names on the back. Yikes, and it's on this plastic thing. They're going through the same issue that Kaleidos did when they made packaging with this lace cover, that it just didn't have a place to really put it because usually it's printed on the back. They could have done like Kaleidos did in their second round of lace packaging quads, is that they put a sticker on it. This one, they do not. However, it does have the name of the palette here, and inside it does have the shade names. So let's take a up close look at this guy. It says that it's named after the Siberian iris with a muted grungy twist. It contains 4 pigmented but blendable mattes, 1 multi-chrome, 4 shimmery duochromes, and 6 shimmers. It does say that the Marble shade will have a slight difference from palette to palette. One may have more gold or blue or green, and the other may have less, as well as a different shape, but it's just because of the way that it's poured. It does say that the shimmer eyeshadows may appear to have glitters depending upon like what swatches you're looking at, but rest assured it is a 100% glitter-free palette with a smooth, butter-like formula. The palette is vegan, glitter-free, BHT-free, and does not contain any mineral oil. Additionally, you guys may like this. This is not something that I really care about, but this is a magnetized palette, so you can take these shades out and move them around if you feel like it. I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments if you are Adept Cosmetics eyeshadow lover, if you really think they brought in the neutral on this. Here's my take on it. I believe that greens and burgundies are all my personal rage at the current moment. Like, those are the shades that I'm reaching for. And every palette where they have both, I'm just really drawn to. So that's me personally. I am fully okay on the take of neutrals on this. I do want to do full swatches, live swatches for you guys. I think live swatches are helpful. I was planning on kind of just like doing it out and showing you up close, but then I don't really get to talk about what the shadow looks like or feels like and whether it's a topper or it's more impactful, that sort of thing. There's like something in my throat today. I just personally like the live swatches, so that's what we're gonna do. I always do my swatches in this order. So I start from the left-hand corner to me, and I work my way across, then jump to the second left-hand corner again, and go down. I don't go vertically, I go horizontally, just in case you kind of want to follow along, but I will also call out the shades. I'm in love with these matte tones. These matte tones are just right up my alley, you guys. If you are looking for multiple looks in this video, I unfortunately am not going to be able to give it to you today because on Tuesdays my son goes to hip hop class and I want to test a new foundation today, so I'm gonna have to go out, and 2 different looks is just not something that I can do. However, I will note in here that because there's only 4 mattes and I'm unlikely to grab the green Kelly shade that's down here on an everyday basis, that most of my looks in terms of the mattes would look pretty similar. I would just change a lot of the shimmers. I still think that's helpful. Anyway, enough chitty chat. Let me throw on some background music and we'll get into the swatching. So this first one is in Dahlia, and this is definitely a multi-chrome right here. Really gorgeous. I'm gonna do my swatches super close so that I can get all 20 shades on one arm. There's the first one in Dahlia. This one is your first mauve matte in Tan Toffee Rose. Ooh, this is a beautiful coppery shade in Meadow Foam. That's a nice everyday but very impactful shade. You could wear this even all on its own. This one looks like a duochrome. It's in Arisema. I cannot pronounce this. It's spelled A-R-I-S-A-E-M-A. This is the second matte. This is the deepest one in here in Daylily. It's a beautiful deep burgundy shade. Ooh, this next one is like a greenish yellow duochrome here in Daffodil. This one is a more bronzy shade right here in Voila Bronze. This is the Swirled Marble shade in Scorpion Grass. I'm definitely interested to see what this looks like. It kind of comes out like silvery purple in real life. Let's see how this swatches. Kind of almost looks green. This next one is Pom Pom Button, which is like a super deep forest green that shifts blue. That's exciting. This next one is in Yellow Bronwyn. It's got a yellowish kind of tinge to it, but it's not completely yellow. I feel like this is a light shimmer we see in quite a few palettes. Here is the brown matte in Sahara. This looks a little desaturated, not like a super intense brown matte. Yeah, kind of desaturated. So that you guys know, this would be probably more of a transition shade for me, not necessarily a deepening shade. This is kind of the lightest shimmer in the palette here in Honey Splurge. It's just a nice champagne color. Pretty light on my skin tone. This next one is the blue shimmer in the palette, but it shifts slightly purple. It's in Blue Crown. Yeah, that has a purple base to it. Really pretty. They're helping me describe these shades with their names. This one is called Rust Bunny. It is kind of a rusty orange, but it is a, I think, multi-chrome that kind of shifts greenish, like greenish brown. Wow, it looks quite green on the swatch there, but like it's really orange in the pan. And final shade is the deep turquoise shade that is a matte, and it's called Green Kelly. Okay, that didn't swatch all the way through. I think this one's probably a pressed pigment. So I'm definitely going to reach into the lighter mauve shade and the deeper burgundy shade to create my looks. That's like some of my two favorite colors. So if you're gonna give me a neutral with a mauve and a burgundy, I'm here for it all day long. I'm definitely on the fence about what shimmer to use. This one up here is a lovely multi-chrome, and I'm wondering if like that yellow flip in there will make the look a little bit more exciting, or whether or not I grab this fun one down here that's that blue with purple shift. And the reason I'm thinking maybe not that one is because the two mattes that I'm gonna use, and it'll just look like a wash of color. So I feel like I'm gonna use this multi-chrome up here. I do not think I'm gonna speed through this process, you guys. I will just talk as I'm going. So I'm going into a BK Beauty 201 brush. It's a little bit more pinched, but I'm gonna use it as an all over brush. And I'm going into Tan Toffee Rose, which is that matte mauve shade first, and I'm gonna go all over. And by the way, I did not throw on any eyeshadow primer. I say this typically, but I don't like make it an announcement usually, is that when I'm testing out a new eyeshadow palette, I don't go in with eyeshadow primer. I am not a huge fan of eyeshadow primer. I'm sure there are a lot of you out there that are. I find a lot of primers tend to skip And I really just like the way a really soft matte shadow really just glides across the skin. I mean, that was just absolutely stunning. That takes literally no work at all. It's such a dusty mauve shade. It's so true to what's really in the pan. I'm going to try something so that I can take 3 of the 4 mattes. I'm going to go into a really fine detailed brush here in the Refer 14, and I'm going to go into the brown matte in Sahara. Because it's more on the desaturated side, I'm going to see if I can bring it into the crease and just kind of blend these 2 shades together. Don't mind me while I sit here and hold my skin. There's probably a lot of women in my family who have hooded eyes, and I love them. Like, I love them. They're just different, but they're definitely harder to work with. My grandmother, love her, she's so funny. She actually had really hooded eyes, and as she got older, she ended up having like the skin removal done, which I feel like a lot of people are doing now, just like not older. Younger people are doing the hooded eye removal. I can't even imagine that surgery, quite honestly. I don't know if I have it in me. I'm just going back into that original brush with the mauve shade and just kind of like buffing these 2 shades together. I don't know how much the brown is gonna really show up the way that I'm working with it, but we're gonna try it anyway. Now I'm just going into what I consider like a packer brush. Pretty dense, nice little shape here. It's kind of got a rounded tip to it. This one is just an Eloise brush. Any real packer brush will probably do, because I'm not going to use, I just grabbed the wrong shade. I went into Sahara. Now I'm going into Daylily to deepen up this outer corner. I'm just gonna go in on the other side as well. I usually go up a little bit higher than I think most people, probably with the deepest shade in the outer corner, because you genuinely can't see it on my eye shape unless I bring it a little bit up, because my hoods are so low. Now I'm just going back into that BK Beauty brush, and I'm gonna diffuse this deepest shade out just a bit. I frequently get accused of not blending my shadows well in my videos, and you guys, I'm very aware. I often get super lazy and I'm like, oh yeah, that looks good. And then I kind of look back at my footage and I was like, ooh, girl, you really need to blend that more. It's not that I'm not capable of blending. It's like sometimes certain shadows, they don't blend the greatest. I will genuinely give up, okay? And I will leave it, because I'm that kind of crazy and I don't care. But also, sometimes the quality of the shadows I'm playing with is just not that great. These, on the other hand, are absolutely stunning. They barely require any work. Adept doesn't do a ton of mattes in their palettes, but honestly, they do mattes extremely well. Like, they could go in for more mattes here. And I honestly I don't think anyone would be mad at them. Like, we all love the shimmers, but how many of you use Adept palettes as companion palettes? And even if they have mattes in there, they're often quite ignored. Okay, before I clean up a little bit, because it's like way out here, I am gonna go into the shimmer. The website does say that they're best picked up with a finger as opposed to a brush. Oh, that lays on the lid perfectly. Decent tack to it. I also am not the kind of person to use a brush for the shimmer. I 10 out of 10 will just reach into the palette and apply with my finger. Even if it causes fallout, it just means that I will do my foundation last. All right, I absolutely swallowed that brown shade, so that was absolutely pointless for me. I kind of knew it would be, but I tried anyway. All right, now I'm just going to go and deepen back the outer corner again. I am dipping back into the palette, and then I wanna brush it off and still like buff the top part in. All right, I lied. I'm gonna go back in with a brush because my fingers are too fat, just so I can get into this inner corner a little bit better. Okay, I just cleaned it up a little bit, and I can see that I went like a little bit farther out with this deep shade. So I'm just gonna add it farther out here and then create like a straight line. Is it even? Who even knows? Well, this deepest shade here, like on my skin tone, for example, comes out really plum. Probably a lot of people's skin tone, it's gonna come out more plum. I think you could reach for this mauve shade and this one right here and get an even more like neutral look that isn't purple leaning as far as like using the mattes. I'm gonna stay away from lower lash line work. I always feel like lower lash line work looks absolutely terrible on me. I wanna know in the comments if you guys like feel the same way. It's like my eye shape isn't right for lower lash line work, or I could just be crazy. I am though gonna tightline with the ColourPop. This is one of their new multi-chrome cream gel liners, and this one is in the shade Actin' Up. And by the way, these liners are actually really nice. I'm gonna throw on a new mascara, new to me mascara. The Laura Geller, what does she call this? Like just her mascara, I guess. There's no name on it. There's no name on it. It's in the shade Black. I picked this up on like the Ipsy drop shop. I don't know what you call it, but I think it's like a volumizing mascara. So the wand is pretty darn chunky. Not something I typically like, but I wanted to give it a shot. I think it was pretty inexpensive. It's a pretty decent volumizing mascara. That's all I have to say about it so far. It's like super clumpy on the wand, so I'm gonna like wipe this off. But then it just takes off like a lot of the actual product, and I kind of want that to my eye. It is one of the stickiest mascara formulas I've ever used. All right, I'm gonna go finish the rest of my makeup, you guys. We're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about my final thoughts on the palette. Yeah, it should be a quick wrap up, so I'll see you guys in just a second. Welcome back, everything is done. I'm wearing a brand new lip product. I've been waiting to test this out because it's such a bright color and I just haven't worn anything that I felt like I could wear this with. So I was excited to be able to try this on based on the eye look that we created today. So my final thoughts on this. Distinctly, these shimmers are very soft, very smooth, almost no fallout, where some Adept Cosmetics palettes are on the more foiled side. They do offer some chunkier shimmers, and that's not always everybody's preference. Some people say that they wish they had like smoother formulas. Every single one of these swatch like a smooth formula. So I don't think any one of these are overly foiled. I think that's like distinct about this palette in comparison to some of their other ones. It is a $62 palette, kind of rightfully so, given the number of multi-chromes, duochromes, and the fact that there's only 4 mattes in here. But let's talk about the 4 mattes. I personally love, if you're gonna throw in just a limited number of mattes, that you give us burgundies, mauves, 1 brown shade. This one, I mean, this is nice because you've got some blues and some greens. And so you want to have something in the matte department if people like to build their looks on mattes and you've decided to give us more, that you give us this color, because it's not gonna, you know, like a green's not gonna look great with like a mauve shade necessarily, but it would look really good with this one. And you could easily just wear this all over and throw on a shimmer. So I think the curation here is spot on. I think it's really good. And the neutral tones are like just up my alley. There are some brands that I say I'll pick up like all of their new releases, like despite what the color story is, because I'm generally surprised. But then there are more expensive palettes where I will wait for a color story I think I'm gonna get personal use out of outside of just reviewing it on my channel. And I feel like Adept is kind of one of those because they always have limited mattes, but I am very surprised to see 4 mattes in this particular palette, and they happen to be just right up my alley. So really, those are my final thoughts. I'd love to hear your guys' in the comments below, or whether or not you've picked up this palette. That is all for me today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.